I come to you today in need of some help. I can't seem to DNF books, and I need your help to tell me how to do it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Wilde Reads. My name is Dave. Welcome back to another video. As I said at the start, I really struggle to DNF books. I really struggle, and I need your help because I know out there are some heavyweight DNFers and some heavyweight bailers on books. Sean the Book Maniac being the one that pops into my head first. Sean bails on so many books that he often has to film two parts to a wrap-up. One part concerning the books that he's finished, and another part concerning the books that he stopped reading because they were no good. I only wish that I could be as ruthless in my reading, but I can't, and this is what I need your help with. I need to know, what are your strategies for DNFing books, because I continually struggle and have always struggled. I can probably count the number of books that I've DNF'd on one hand, maybe a little bit more, and I thought I'd cured myself. I thought I was over it, and I thought I'd developed a strategy of dealing with it. And I know there are people that have told me, and someone's told me very recently, that someone once told them that life is just too short to carry on reading a book that you are not enjoying. We have all got only a limited amount of time. We've got a finite amount of time left in our lives to be able to read. And I know that this clock is continually ticking. Not to be too depressive about it, but we have only got enough time to read a certain number of books. So why waste that time on reading something that you are actually not enjoying, and just finish it and move on to the next one? Which I think I agree with. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But then, last month, I read a book that got me thinking again about this subject. Now, I mentioned this in my wrap-up last month, but I read a book last month called In a Cottage in a Wood. As you read it, it basically forms itself into three parts: a start, a middle, and an end. Now, the start is brilliant, 5-star start, and the end is brilliant, 5-star finish. But the middle is probably a 2 or a 3 at best. And that got me thinking, what if that poor part of the book had been at the beginning of the book? If I'd have been giving myself, I don't know, 50, 100 pages to get into a book and then decide whether I want to carry on reading it, I wouldn't have finished this book, and I would have missed out, because in the end I gave this 4 stars. I would have missed out on a 4-star read, and I would have missed out on ultimately what was in the end an enjoyable book. It just fell completely flat in the middle. If that poor start had been right at the beginning, I would have missed out on a really good book, and that's what worries me. I'd like to find out, how do you do it? Now, I think it's Russell over at Ink and Paper blog. I think Russell gives it 50 pages. He gives a new book 50 pages, I think. Correct me, Russell, if you're watching this and I'm wrong about this, then please let me know. But I think he gives a book 50 pages before he publicly commits to have started reading it on Goodreads. Because as your Goodreads following is increasing, then people are keeping an eye on what you're reading and maybe adding it to their TBRs. So I don't want to start a book and then publicly say that I'm reading a book on Goodreads only to then finish it 50, 75, 100 pages in. So what are your strategies for DNFing books? Do you give it a certain number of pages and then stop it if you're not enjoying it? Do you give it a set number of chapters? That's probably more difficult because of the variation in chapter length between writers. I'd just be really interested to find out your strategies for how you DNF books, because I am bad at it. The way I think of it, what I've got in my head is this: that because we have this finite number of reading left in us, the way I think is that I generally read at around an average, I suppose an average day would be 100 pages. So it's 100 pages a day. So I have a morning session and I have an evening session of roughly 50 pages each. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less. But if I've invested a couple of days, like there was this book that I read last year, Cousins by Sally Vickers, quite a well thought of book. It had an okay beginning, and then it started to trail off a little bit, and I was liking it less and less and less. But by the time I'd got to that point of not liking it, I was already about 200 pages in. So I'm thinking, I've only got a day left of reading it, because it's about a 300 page book. I've only got a day left of reading it, but if I stop now, I've wasted 2 days of reading. Well, not wasted, but I can't count those towards any sort of reading goal. So I thought, do I carry on with it, not enjoy it, but at least I've read another book and I can wrap it up and so on and so forth, and mark it on Goodreads as having read it and not liking it. And I did plough on with it in the end, and I think I gave it a 2. But rather than stop it, and because I can't take this book back to the bookstore and say, I was 200 pages in and I don't like it anymore, so can I have those 2 days of reading time back, please? I want them back as a credit to go and enjoy something else. Of course you can't do that. So I'd rather, in my head, waste another day ploughing on with a book that I'm not enjoying and actually complete that book, rather than... Is this argument sounding a bit ridiculous? I don't know if it is or not. But that's the way I think. I think if you've got to a certain point in a book, and probably after... If I'd have put the 50-page rule in on this book, I probably would have carried on, because the first 100 or so pages were okay. There was another book recently that I read as a buddy read, and I couldn't finish the book, which was Alan Hollinghurst, The Sparsholt Affair. Again, the book was split into 5 parts. The first part was brilliant. The first part set in Oxford when Sparsholt was a young man. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The second part tailed off. By the time I got to the third part, I was thinking, is this the same author writing this book? How can you start a book so strongly and then finish on such a whimper? So I couldn't finish it. So this does put me in a bit of a predicament, and I'm just wondering how other people do it. Do other people give it a set number of pages, or what? How do you do it? You can see why I need help in DNFing books. If I'd have given the 50-page rule to this book, it wouldn't have worked, because the first part was okay. If I'd have done it to The Sparsholt Affair, again, it would have been okay. But how do you write off the time already invested in that book in order to move on to the next one? Because in my mind, I just think, oh, I've wasted a couple of days. I've wasted 2 days reading there. Completely pointless. I'm stuck. You can see my point, hopefully. How do you do it? Do you just start it and think, nah, no good, another one. No good, another one. And just carry on till you find a book that grips you? This doesn't happen to me that often. But as I'm reading more, as I'm now on BookTube and I'm reading more and more books, the DNF problem is starting to rear its ugly head more and more. As you develop as a reader, as I think you constantly develop as a reader, I think that critical reading is something that I probably am reading more critically now than I've ever done, because in the back of your mind you're thinking, when I finish this book, I'm going to have to talk about it. And I'm going to have to make a video about it, whether that's part of a wrap-up or a single review, or no, I don't do single reviews. But you're going to have to say something about this book. So, what is it about the book? How did it make you feel? So that's my point. I'm stuck. I'm stuck on this problem of I can't seem to successfully DNF books. On my DNF shelf on Goodreads, I think there are 2 Maggie O'Farrell books. Why they're there, I've got no idea. I did start them and didn't finish them. And I love Maggie O'Farrell. I think she's a brilliant writer, and I've read countless books from her. But I think for those books, and I'm very much a believer in this, I'm very much a believer in sometimes you can just read the wrong book at the wrong time. And there is a right time to read certain books. I've started and not finished The Shadow of the Wind 2 or 3 times. I know this is a hugely popular book, and I've started it 2 or 3 times now, I think, and not finished it. But I know it's a good book. I know there's a good book in there. I've just got to find the right time to read it and appreciate it and enjoy it. So that's it. That's all I've got to say on it. Please help the people that find this. There are probably people watching this thinking, what's Dave going on about? Of course it's easy to finish a book. You just chuck it to one side and move on to the next one. Okay, that may be the point. Am I just overthinking this? Am I just overthinking the whole DNF thing? Perhaps I am. But if I am, let me know if I am, and let me know why, and let me know how you do it. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. I'll see you again on Sunday for another BookTube video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.